Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X-Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
Welcome back to another episode of Cal's Corner Radio Show here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. My name is Kal Korff, and I'm your host. The executive producer of the show is the one and only Rob McConnell. Folks, as I say, as you know, at the top of every show, the purpose of Cal's Corner is to cover everything from politics to the paranormal. Obviously, we can't get to all of that in one show, but in this particular episode, we're going to talk about 4 distinctive different areas, and we'll take it from there. We're going to cover UFOs in Roswell. We're going to cover global warming. We're going to talk about the U.S. political election. That is well underway, of course. And then the last segment will be some miscellaneous, let's wrap it up type thing. All right, so let's start here. Let's start off with global warming. That's a subject that's in the news and all that stuff. It's understandable why people are concerned about it, regardless of what you think about it. And let's summarize kind of what the issue is here, all right? The issue is pollution, all right? Now, I'm old enough to where when I was raised, we were told not to pollute. You don't throw stuff on the ground, you pick it up, you put it in the trash where it belongs, you try to recycle where it makes sense. You may remember the old campaign that was in the USA, Give a Hoot, Don't Pollute. Yes, I grew up with that stuff, I'm that old. And what amazes me today, in my opinion, this is not a good sign, is that people form their opinions on global warming based on temperature readings. Wow, it's a hot summer. The planet must be warming. Wow, it's super duper winter storm. That's more evidence of global warming. Sorry, folks, it's not that simple. And I'm putting this out there because it's true. I am the author of a book called Exposing Al Gore's False Claims About Climate Change, Volume 1, okay? The reason it's Volume 1 is because if I feel like it, I can do a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because Al Gore is a global warming alarmist, and that is provable. Now, this book, which I wrote in India 2 years ago, has been out there. I recently pulled it because I'm updating it, and you'll know by the end of the segment why, because it's been a great amazing breakthrough, a simple thing that was done that should have been done years ago. In fact, I think Al Gore should have led this charge, but we'll come back to that a little bit later. And I'm going to update it and include this information. I've already written about it, and I'll share that with you in a little bit. It's in the newspaper today, so nobody can deny it or take it out of the history record for what it's worth. So let's back up a little bit here and talk about global warming and why it's important and some of the nonsense about it. Because regardless of the topic, we have to remember a key fundamental principle here, which is that no valid case can ever be made for anything, doesn't matter what the subject is, if it's based on a lie. If it's a lie, the matter ends. Doesn't matter what the subject is, that's just a detail. Lies are lies. Lies mean, by definition, that it's not true. Lies also mean that, depending on the person, you know it's not true. So it's not, a lie is worse than just being wrong. And let's be honest, sometimes being wrong is a great teacher in life. Nobody's perfect. But when somebody lies, they either make stuff up or again, they're just not telling the truth. They're making a point not to tell the truth. And it's important to distinguish and remember that definition and not play games with it. There's a reason the word lie exists versus other terms like mistaken or, let's not play the game, oh, he misspoke. No, he didn't misspoke. He lied. Okay? Let's not call it what it is not. Now, this reminds me, of course, of the issue of the word debunker. Again today, a friend of mine, Melissa Martell, she's a woman who has her own show. She had a guest on, and apparently he had a bit of a problem with some of her questions because they were critically oriented, as in critical thinking, which is always good. We must never condemn critical thinking. And this guy blew it off like, these debunkers, can't trust them, whatever. I didn't hear the show. It has not broadcast yet. She and I are friends. We've been in touch. I was on her show recently for 2 segments because we talked forever. And it was free-form, unscripted. We talked about anything that we wanted to, and I really enjoyed it. And I look forward to having her on my show here as well as being on her show in the future. So anyway, make a long story short, when anybody tells you don't pay attention to debunkers, you have to stop them right there. And if you don't, it's your fault. Because, just look up the word debunk. It simply means to separate bunk or nonsense from facts. That's a good thing, folks. It doesn't matter what the subject is. So debunkers, by definition, separate bunk or nonsense from the truth. They separate it so that people can help understand things easier. It's kind of common sense. And if you think about it, even the people who misuse the definition of the word debunker actually know better if you can get them to pull their emotions away from the issue and think logically for at least 20 seconds. They've heard words like decaffeinated or, coffee. They know it means it has no caffeine in it. D whatever. If you're delisted, you're no longer listed. So these same people who deliberately misuse the term debunker for a variety of reasons, depends on the person, you have to ask them, each individual is different, they know that the D prefix in English means to remove it or take it away. It's no longer there. If you're defriended, you're not friended anymore. You're not friends, okay? Divorce, although that's an I, the point is you are no longer together. And of course, Facebook likes to ignore English grammar. Now it's unfriend. Okay, fine. Whatever. Point is, people know what the D means, DE, in English. So does it make sense that debunker is someone with a closed mind? Let me think about that. A guy who separates bunk, which is nonsense or BS, from facts, has a closed mind. That's so twisted, folks. I don't even know of a drug that would be so bad that you could take that would get you to think that way. But these people do, even without drugs, even without good or bad drugs. They just think wrongly. And I'm sorry to inform all of you, whether you want to accept it or not, that there's one individual who started this nonsense. I was mentored by him as a child. We've in many newspaper articles together, which are not on the internet. Actually, that's good for him. His name was Stanton Friedman. He's the one that started this debunker stuff. Oh, debunkers have a closed mind. He said, this is practically a quote, "Don't confuse my mind with facts it's already made up. Research by proclamation." I know all the Friedmanisms because I used to ape them blindly myself before I developed my own means of thinking critically. I've had episodes on the show here where I've talked about how the Hill case, Roswell, the Heflin case, all came between Stan and I because I was his go-to guy between all the disagreeing parties as a kid, saying, hey, both sides can't be right. Let's put everyone in a room. We couldn't do that back then. I'll run the trap, find out, run everything by everybody and let the chips fall where they may. And Friedman did not like the way they fell because it destroyed not only his shtick, but his whole purpose in ufology. And he told me what his purpose in ufology was when we first met. I have it on tape somewhere. My history teacher will remember this because I went to record him. Again, this was at Thornton Junior High School in 1975 in May. I remember very clearly. He was jealous of Hynek, wanted to replace Hynek as Mr. Ufology. Okay, whatever. I'm sorry, having known both people, Hynek was, in my opinion, a nicer overall person, but Hynek was a bit on the wimpy side. I'm being blunt with you. He was apolitical to the point where he's the head of Project Blue Book as a scientific advisor, and that's very political, but Hynek himself was not a political type. Friedman would have relished that job instead, had what I call, penis envy, because I saw it, and he was jealous of Hynek. And one of the first things he told me on tape was he attacked Hynek over a special called UFOs Do You Believe that NBC had aired, where basically they showed this photo this kid had taken of a flying saucer, and it was a hoax, and Hynek basically pats him on the head and says, I don't think he'd make it up. That is not ufology. Friedman was right about that. But then when Friedman went off on his tangent about the Hill star map and all this other stuff and refused to face the facts on it, and I know that because I still have the Smoky Gun files from the 1970s, which will be published soon, proving that Friedman always knew the Hill star map was nonsense. Again, this is what caused a problem between us. All right, so on the issue of global warming, we have people who, like other religions or things they're passionate about, their objectivity goes out the window. I have been attacked, I'm not the only one, many people do, that if I dare question, expose, or destroy a myth, a lie about global warming, I'm talking about lies, or the people saying it know it's not true, or they just make it up, which again is a lie. They go ahead and, say, oh, you don't believe in saving the environment. No, I didn't say that. I'm just saying this one claim is BS, and I can prove it. So in the book I wrote, Exposing Al Gore, it only focuses on 2 lies of his, and there's no question they're lies. I'll briefly recap them. One is polar bears being stranded on ice caps in the Arctic. Well, first of all, polar bears are awesome, great swimmers. They're better swimmers than people are. And most people don't know how to swim, by the way. That's not the case with polar bears. It's genetic. They weren't stranded on the ice. In fact, the photographer who took that photo said it was just a polar bear on the ice. That's it, period. But Al Gore said they were being stranded because, the ice caps are melting. Where did he pull that out of? I don't know. I don't want to visit that orifice. But the point is, it was made up stuff, and it helped get him a Nobel Prize, even though he wasn't one of the scientists claiming that. He just made it up because to Al Gore, the ends justifies the means. That's typical of politicians. You don't get to be VP of the United States by doing everything right. You do just enough to get that job handed to you. That's the way American politics works. All right, we'll come back to this subject after the commercial break here. We'll continue on it and then switch to some other stuff. But I'll share with you a breakthrough study on global warming.
Patty Conklin grew up in Brooktondale, New York with a unique ability. Unlike others, she could see how the vibration of words and emotions affected the physical body. She discovered how to release stored emotion and facilitate healing. This began today's Conklin method of cellular cleansing. The private practice grew with tremendous results, as did her reputation. More and more people sought her out, bringing her into the home for healing. She soon realized she could even teach this to others, and they could shift perception and thus prevent illness from occurring. Patty Conklin quickly became a frequent keynote speaker, and she developed a curriculum for teaching the Conklin method of cellular cleansing. For more information, visit pattyconklin.com. PattiConklin, PattiConklin.com, or call 404-474-0086. That's 404-474-0086.
Mission Evolution is dedicated to the well-being of the planet and animals, as well as the evolution of humankind. One major factor threatening all three is increasing toxicity. Heavy metals and other environmental toxins are poisoning our bodies, deteriorating our brains, blocking our spiritual connection, and shortening our lives. Yet these poisons are extremely difficult to remove. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, and I recently became aware of a product created from the marriage of nature and nanotechnology called Vitality. It's formulated from zoolite, whose crystalline structure binds toxins, gently carrying them out of the body. The light is only as clear as the window through which it shines. Clear your body, shine your light into the world. Visit vitalityhappens.com for a 20% discount. Enter code PATHHOME.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
All right, welcome back to segment 2 here on Kal's Corner Radio Show on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Once again, my name is Kal Korff, and I'm your host. The executive producer of the show is Rob McConnell. So getting back to Al Gore and global warming, again, Al Gore lied when he said that polar bears were being stranded on ice caps because the planet's melting. In fact, Al Gore said that the North Pole would be melted by now, years ago. Well, it's still there, last I checked. Another lie he said was that snow on Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa is disappearing and will be gone because of climate change induced by humans. Well, the scientist that did that study publicly said, no, I'm wrong. In fact, I never should have said it because the scientist let his emotions get in the way of data. It's a matter of public record. But Al Gore has not bent over backwards to correct his own lies. That's the way Al Gore works. So now we come to an issue that is the crux of the matter. Again, it's wrong to pollute, okay? Having lived in India for 7 years, I can tell you that in their culture, most Indians, which is just terrible, and it's not just India, it's an Asia thing. I've seen it over there firsthand. When they, for example, get some street food, when it doesn't put them in the hospital, let's be blunt, I've had that happen to me, they just take their paper plates and throw them on the ground. That's it. That's what they do, and they walk away. And they're not even ashamed of it. Now, thankfully, some of the younger kids have a problem with this, God bless them. But the older ones, nah, that's just the way it is. And then I hear excuses like, oh, don't worry, the paper plate will decay. Well, sorry, it's made of styrofoam, but technical issues aside, it's wrong to sit there and just throw stuff on the ground and just pollute it. There is a reason Beijing and Delhi fight each other for being the most polluted, worst cities to live in on the planet. Thousands of people die every year because of the pollution. I know in my own case, my body reacted very bad to the pollution over there. I didn't stop having eye infections, serious mucus infections, until after I left India, meaning I'd go to the United Arab Emirates or the Middle East, which is, has its own issues, and it's not exactly the cleanest place over there. but it was cleaner than India. My eyes were back to normal, and I was very grateful. Then I'd go back to India, and the problem would start again. I never had boils till I lived in India. I never had Delhi belly till I literally was in Delhi. So I can tell you from firsthand experience, everything from not using toilet paper over there culturally to not even washing their hands. And of course, it's always sweaty and balmy and full of humidity. It's a out of control, rampant petri dish over there. And of course, the viruses and bacteria are much worse than they are in the cooler climates, more moderate climates. And of course, everything's bigger. The average Indian cockroach is bigger than the one in, say, Reno, unless you go near the nuclear sites that were underground. So the point is, in environments where it's hot and humid, look at Texas. They have big insects too, because it's when things are warmer, nature loves to get bigger. So back to the issue of global warming. It is wrong to pollute. Fine, no question. We shouldn't do it. Now, the question becomes, is the amount of greenhouse gases that are being released by human activity, and yes, we do produce greenhouse gases as a byproduct of what's called industry, all right? Are they causing the planet to radically change in a way that is killing everything and it will kill us? Well, a funny thing has happened about the UN and trying to quantify all this. Basically, what they've concluded, if you read between the lines, is that warming is real. And okay, but on the other hand, the margin for error in the sensor readings, the variation is such that it is within the margin for error. So you can't really say it's happening the way that they are. We know, or that they claim, we do know that this stuff Al Gore says is alarmist, which means it's wrong. It's actually extremist by that very dynamic. And let me share with you now a breakthrough that occurred that this study should have been done years ago. Al Gore should have actually dared them to do it to prove he's right. I suspect but can't prove that maybe he knows better deep down. He's not a dummy. But on the other hand, now we're going to destroy one of the biggest myths that global warming advocates are now promoting. And this should be of interest to people, especially in Canada and in areas that have very serious winters. Now, what I'm going to do is read to you very quickly a short article I wrote in Daily World News because I digested the science papers. And I thought, we got to run with this. And it started with a photograph I saw of a man holding a thin slice of ice that they had cut from a core that they drilled down in Antarctica. What these scientists did, which Al Gore should have, again, thought of years ago, especially when he got a Nobel Prize, hello. What they did is they drilled down in the Arctic, going back somewhere between 8 to 15,000 years ago in time. What they did is they had to drill down far enough to find ice core samples that had the same amount of methane trapped in them that you find today in today's modern polluted industrial world. So this is a equivalent due to natural causes thousands of years ago. There was no industry back then. And this is the atmosphere at the time that's roughly equivalent to today. It's a good control experiment where you can say, well, let's play with it here and let's see what happens because it'll help us predict what could happen today. So here's what I wrote, and it settles the issue, case closed, and I am going to try to see if I can get a statement from Gore about this because somebody needs to talk to this guy. I think he'll blow me off like he always does his so-called critics. He says, I don't have time for critics. The science is settled. Well, here's some settled science for you, Mr. Gore, and all other global warming alarmists. Again, the cause is valid. Please understand, I'm not saying we're not messing up the earth. We are. But not the way he's claiming. It is a lie, and it is a campaign designed to manipulate people. Here goes. It's called Melting Permafrosts. It says, while the subject of so-called global warming, today called climate change, is rife with controversy and heated disputes, what all sides do agree on is that greenhouse gases trap heat. In other words, the science is settled. Greenhouse gases do trap heat. They're heavy. They're heavier than normal gases, okay, or oxygen. This means that as the Earth warms and the amount of greenhouse gases increase, ergo temperatures on this planet rise accordingly. While the science behind understanding greenhouse gases, such as methane, and how they trap heat are very well known, where things become increasingly uncertain, if not downright plucky, is when this same modeling is applied by scientists trying to grasp how they impact today's world, or does today's world impact them? One of the biggest ticking time bombs, according to everyone from Al Gore to other global warming promoters, is the melting of the permafrosts. As the Arctic region has started thawing, it has enabled scientists to find the frozen and fossilized remains of past life forms. Try searching Google for this. Everything from a remarkably preserved wolf to woolly mammoths, even ancient worms are all being found. This is people like Al Gore worried because trapped inside these now melting permafrosts are greenhouse gases that will be released. The question now becomes, what are their impacts, if any? Now, here's where it gets very interesting, no matter what you think about global warming, and if I were standing in front of Al Gore, I would hit him with this. To understand this problem, scientists recently drilled down into old ice cores in Antarctica to depths where the concentration of greenhouse gases is on par with what they are today. To go back in time to find an equivalent matching period, they drilled down back in time, covering a range from 8 to 15,000 years ago. That's a lot of years, folks. After these cores were retrieved, thin slices of ice were made, producing a sample that resembles, in appearance, today's air-filled bubble wrap. You've seen bubble wrap. Well, imagine a sheet of ice with bubbles in it that contain trapped methane and greenhouse gases. In these thin ice core slices was trapped ancient methane. Scientists then melted this ice and studied whether this methane released would cause a subsequent rise in surface temperatures on the Earth. Much to the disappointment of alarmists like Al Gore, no such thing even close to this happened. I repeat, much to the disappointment of alarmists like Al Gore, no such thing even close to this happened. Instead, their conclusion is that, quote, anthropogenic methane emissions currently are larger than wetland emissions by a factor of about 2, and our data shows we don't need to be as concerned about large methane releases from large carbon reservoirs in response to future warming. We should be more concerned about methane released from human activities. So what they're saying, folks, is that it doesn't really rise and spike the temperature at all. It is not true. They have proven this now. And if Al Gore doesn't believe me, he should just get one of these samples and keep it as a souvenir himself. So I end the piece by saying, past life forms awakening, however, are a different issue entirely. Siberian viruses, some 30,000 years old, were revived just 6 years ago. The potential exists to resurrect deadly pathogens that killed early humans. Again, that is common sense. I remember in Prague, they were digging under the castle. They uncovered some tuberculosis virus, and an outbreak broke out among the workers. Because they brought it to the surface, it was still active. So that is a concern, but it's not going to warm the planet, but it can kill people. All right, we'll be back after this break and continue.
Audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
Join Patty Conklin and Healing Within Radio each week. More than entertainment, Healing Within offers educational, useful tools for everyday life. Listen for help overcoming fear, anxiety, and depression. Patty knows about eliminating cancer, MS, dementia, Parkinson's, and a host of illnesses that we face every day. Life can be good. Life is good. All you need are simple tools to start changing your life. Start right now by visiting pattyconklin.com, PATTICONKLIN. No matter where you are in the world, you can work with Patty through Skype, phone, or in person, visiting one of her retreats in Georgia. Visit pattyconklin.com today or call our offices at 404-474-0086. That's pattyconklin.com or call 404-474-0086.
Coming soon to the X Zone Broadcast Network is A Different Perspective with me, Kevin Randall, as your host. We'll be taking a close look at what is happening in the world of UFOs today with side trips into the paranormal. Guests will range from those who are household names to those who have a different perspective on a variety of topics. No topic will be taboo, but there will be tough questions asked as we all search for the truth about UFOs, the paranormal, and those things that excite us. Sometimes we'll agree with a guest and sometimes we won't, but we'll try to keep the program topical. For those of you who would like to read, be sure to visit www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com and remember to listen to the other fine programs on the X Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back to the third segment here on Kal's Corner Radio Show on the X Zone Broadcast Network. My name is Kal Korff, and I'm your host. The executive producer of the show is Rob McConnell. Now, to wrap up the global warming thing, I'm sorry I spoke longer than I intended to, but I also felt I need to be really complete in explaining this because I don't know what the reaction is going to be. If past patterns hold, people who love denying the truth about this will continue to do it. Those who don't, won't, and those who are in the middle, hopefully they'll learn something and especially know what not to believe. So the next time, to recap, somebody tells you, well, the permafrosts are melting and that's going to warm the planet and that's why the planet's warming. Well, that's news to science. They have just studied this. It's a simple experiment. Again, the dynamics are obvious. You dig down deep in the ice cores, you go back to a point where greenhouse gases were as strong as they are today, but it was naturally caused, so you can't blame industry for it. And then they sample it, they melt it, the gas does not rise. And I had to think back real quickly about something a friend of mine mentioned, Roy Neal. He's a longtime friend. I lived with him as a roommate when I was at Apple Claris. He's the one that helped me get the models done that I took over to Switzerland when I investigated and exposed the Meyer cult undercover, posing as Steve Thomas and later Oscar Mayer Wiener, the stuff they fell for. We've talked about that before. Well, we tested in the hills of the Bay Area the Meyer models on helium balloons. Roy was with me on that. Roy knows me very well. We're best friends. I can't say enough about the guy. Anyway, we were talking about climate change and all that months ago because we do that. That's the kind of life we have, right? And he was saying, it's kind of obvious that these gases are heavier, that they don't rise. And of course, I know enough about physics and science to know that too. But on the other hand, when you have millions of acres of stuff being released up there, maybe the dynamics would change. But no, they've run the trap on it now. Simple experiment. They melted the stuff, and they said in their conclusion, I quoted from you, for you, and it's much longer, that basically this is not a problem. They even specifically say that nature has natural balancing mechanisms that have always been there for at least as long as humans have. And this is a message that Al Gore and others need to remember. And I talk about this in the Gore Expose book, which I will re-release sometime later this year after I update this stuff. I'm going to try to get Al Gore to at least say something rather than continue to duck facts like he does. That basically the Earth is much bigger and tougher than we give it credit for. And it's been around much longer than people have. And let's be honest, we all know this. One fart from a volcano, and you've got more greenhouse gases in that burp of Mother Nature than you do in hundreds of years of human activity. That's just physics. And I think in this year alone, or at least last few months, 4 volcanoes have erupted. So yeah, that's really going to affect the readings here unless they really are very careful. So again, to wrap this up, it is wrong to pollute. And we must stick to that principle. We shouldn't pollute, so let's not do it. As I've told many people who attack me over my view on global warming, I don't need a thermometer to tell me that we need to protect the environment. It's common, basic logic and common sense. You don't destroy your host. That's what a parasite does, okay? You don't destroy the host. The host is the earth. You don't destroy it. To have to even say that is ridiculous because it's obvious. So I don't care what temperature it is. I don't need a thermometer to tell me, I shouldn't pollute. No, I need my brain to tell me that, okay? So I have to just shake my head at some of the nonsense that passes for so-called the science is settled. It reminds me of ufology. It's a question of what planet aliens come from. Nobody's asking, are there any aliens at all? That's a debunker with a closed mind. No, that's a critical thinker. All right, let's move on now to a different subject. Roswell, UFOs, unidentified flying objects, what some people call flying saucers. Now, I am, take it or leave it, believe it or not, I don't care, one of the 4 original Roswell researchers. Therefore, my view on Roswell is very different from people like Kevin Randle, who jumped on the bandwagon later. I'm not attacking him for it, but let's be honest, that's a fact. And people like Richard Dolan, who have their opinions about Roswell. Dolan was involved in hyping the Roswell mummy hoax. And when I saw those slides years ago in India, I knew it was a hoax because I know what really caused Roswell. I'm one of the 4 original Roswell researchers. Duh, hello. So just like the alien autopsy hoax, the alien autopsy film cannot show the Roswell alien because there was no aliens at Roswell. Duh, hello. If it never happened, never means never. Well, in ufology, never means anything you want it to be because it's ufology. Ufology is when you make statements or conclusions about UFOs which are not derivable from the data. Ufology, by contrast, is the scientific study of UFO data. There's a huge difference between the two. And this year, being the year of 2020, what a metaphor, like perfect vision, we're going to drive home this point. Again, the Annie Jacobsen expose is due out anytime now. And there's a reason it's volume 1 of the new ufology series that Rob McConnell and I are doing. We're working with each other to do this. And I think the Annie Jacobsen book is a beautiful example of this. It is an expose, but they're all going to be exposés. Hopefully one day we'll expose real aliens. We've got to find them first, but maybe one day. Whatever the truth is, we're there. I don't have a problem with the truth. I can accept it. I may not always like what I hear, but nobody has a right to reject the truth. There's a reason truth is important. There's a reason that word exists. We must always embrace the truth regardless of the subject. But ufology is very different from ufology. We must learn and drive home the point and expose the difference between the two. Now, recently, I started getting a lot of private messages about Richard Dolan. And Richard Dolan is a UFO researcher. He has like 90,000 something followers, if you believe the numbers on his YouTube channel. I think it's YouTube. And he's had a video out, I was told, where he says, let me tell you what really happened at Roswell and all that. Well, I didn't watch all of it. I admit that. And I'm going to say, and I'm not being arrogant when I say this, I'm just being factual, that I don't have to watch all of it. Not because I have psychic powers, because I don't. It's just that knowing what happened, unless he's got more data to add to that, the issue was closed in 1997. It was closed just before the 50th anniversary of Roswell. I know that because I did an all-day special on NBC and MSNBC, broadcast from Roswell. I was in their studios in MSNBC. This is back when Microsoft owned half the network. And we did an all-day special with the Pathfinder crew. We'd landed on Mars. JPL was there. Captain McAndrew was there, who did the Roswell report for the Air Force, which, of course, UFO researchers ignore for wrong reasons. And you can't take this out of the record. Ace investigative journalist Art Levine wrote several articles about this. They were huge deals back then. And much to even my surprise, my book, The Roswell UFO Crash, What They Don't Want You to Know, remains today the best-selling expose of Roswell. It's the only book out there that exposes the top 22 Roswell books written by different authors and separates fact from fiction. Yes, it debunks. That's a good thing in this case. Always, actually. So I am saying right now, because people are asking for this, I am formally challenging Rich Dolan, to a debate on Roswell. It will be, I'm proposing this, Rob McConnell agrees, this will be a special 2-hour episode on this show, and Rob McConnell will be the moderator, and both sides will have to be held to the same standard. I want to be clear that in my challenge to Mr. Dolan to debate him, this is not a I'm going to expose you debate. This is not a I'm going to get you. It's not a gotcha debate. Not even close. Don't even go there. Don't even use that as an excuse, anyone, to say this should not happen. Richard Dolan has made for years claims about Roswell, which I believe I can disprove. They were disproved in my book in 1997. And my book, by the way, is endorsed by Bill Moore, the original author of the Roswell incident that he wrote with Charles Berlitz. So I'm challenging Richard Dolan to a debate. The public wants this debate. There's no question. It's on Twitter. I said I would issue the debate challenge soon. I need to check with Rob. Rob has now said he's willing to be the neutral moderator, and he will be neutral. And if he isn't, it'll be obvious he's not, but he's going to be. He's Rob McConnell. He has integrity. And we'll just let the facts fall where they are. If I mess up or Rob sees something that, Cal, that just doesn't quite add up, he's going to nail me on it. And then I'll have a chance to make it square. Or if he sees the other end that, hey, Rich, that just doesn't make any sense, I assume Rob will do the same thing. I don't speak for Rob. Again, I have no psychic powers, unlike other people. So, and no, they don't. They just claim they do. The point is to separate fact from fiction, get the case out there that Roswell really was caused by a secret military project, and then people can believe what they want to believe. But if we don't have this debate, then you don't have in one place, easy for people to read and digest and listen to, in this case, listen to, because it's on the radio, the truth about Roswell. So I'm challenging Rich Dolan to debate, and let's make it happen. After this show's over and the link is out there and it's published, I'm going to take to Twitter and formally issue the challenge. We'll be back after this commercial break.
If you are looking for a safe, zero-calorie natural option to the harmful artificial sweeteners on the market today, Just Like Sugar is what you're looking for. Just Like Sugar is a wonderful natural alternative for those health-conscious people who choose a calorie-restricted diet with a great, pure, sweet flavor that tastes just like sugar. Just Like Sugar is a great natural option for people suffering from diabetes and may be useful in restricted diet programs where standard sugars are not allowed and does not cause a laxative effect of some other sweeteners. Just Like Sugar comprises a perfect blend of chicory root fiber, natural calcium, natural vitamin C, and Just Like Sugar's sweetness comes from the natural flavors from the peel of the orange. Just Like Sugar is a natural alternative to harmful artificial sweeteners and will change the way that you believe all natural sweetener products taste. Just Like Sugar is available at your local Whole Foods markets, Wild Oats markets, Henry's, Sun Harvest, and many other fine natural food stores in the U.S., Canada, and worldwide. They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Ellie Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world, interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Memorable dynamic presentations are a not-so-secret weapon in the business world. Do you have a powerful message that must be shared, but you haven't found a way to deliver that message? Do you want to be known as a top public speaker who gets amazing results? Are you ready to create and deliver your powerful message? Thomas Hides can help you create and deliver your speech to get the results you desire. Visit iconquality.com.
Did you expect your business to flourish, but instead it plateaued or didn't get off the ground yet? Would you like to achieve massive goals and discover new sources of income within your business? When you're ready to experience that type of success with fast results, Cindy Hendricks is the business coach for you. Her work with entrepreneurs and business owners has been life-changing. To get you and your business where you want to be, go to imaginemoresuccess.com.
Has the fear of public speaking stalled your business or personal life? What would you give to develop and maintain supreme confidence? Have an invaluable private program to always perform at your best. Imagine how you would feel. You can have all that and so much more today with Thomas Hides' life-changing course called Number One Fear Unleashed. Visit numberonefear.com and be liberated from your fear of public speaking.
Welcome back to the fourth and final segment here on Kal's Corner Radio Show and the X Zone Broadcast Network. Once again, my name is Kal Korff, and I'm your host. The executive producer of the show is Rob McConnell. So getting back to Roswell, like the Billy Meyer case, I think I can speak with authority on it because I'm one of the 4 original Roswell researchers. Only 3 of them are left alive. I am one of the 4. or one of the three that is, and I was the youngest one involved in this, and I know where the bodies are buried on this case, no pun intended. So I'll debate anybody, anywhere, anytime, any place on Roswell. I don't care who it is. In fact, I'll even debate Kevin Randle if he wants to go there. I don't care. We were supposed to debate many years ago in Prague, but because of threats against me, it had to be canceled at the last minute. Made me look like a fool. It was embarrassing. I felt bad for Rob about it, but that's what happened. Well, that dynamic can't happen anymore. And I have no idea whether I'll ever debate Randle on anything. Before I get back to Dolan, I just want to say something about Kevin Randle. People have been contacting me also trying to start some sort of feud with Randle, and I'm not going to play feud games. I don't play feud games. That's just not right. But I will tell you that Kevin Randle, and this is obvious from his writings, he's not the same Kevin Randle he was when he was writing all those Roswell books, and as I accused him of milking the cow until it would no longer come home. He's not that way anymore. He's become much more critically minded, and God bless him for it. He even admits now, and he said it the other day on a show a few episodes back, that his so-called PhD is from a diploma mill. Okay, Friedman and I pointed that out last century, and there was some pushback from Randle and others on it, but, you know, that school he went to at the time was a diploma mill. Now it's an official straight-up university, but Kevin Randle got it before that change was made. And again, these articles about the university, its credibility problems and all that, have long been in the media. That's how I knew it was a diploma mill years ago. So, okay, for him to admit that, that's much better than some of these other people who still call themselves whatever, and they don't even give you that important context. I will admit that if I had a PhD from a diploma mill, I wouldn't call myself Dr. anything except Dr. Diploma Mill, but that's just me. Okay, everybody's different. But Kevin Randle, to his credit, has become much more critically minded and thinking in his approach to UFO research. He's also been in touch over the years, while I've been doing a lot of different things, with some close friends of mine, and I think that has helped because he's seen that, you know, things are a bit more complicated than the dogma that is widely believed and promoted out there. So I support overall what Kevin does, as long as he sticks to facts, and I would have that same thing with anybody. So I have nothing personal against him. I also respect the fact that he served this country, America, honorably. And I have said from day one that my own private service and private intelligence and in security, where I did hold rank, that's a matter of record, cannot be compared to anybody who serves in the military because it's not the same thing. You know, police departments have captains, they have lieutenants, they have sergeants. I have held those different ranks in private security, and it's a whole different animal. You can't compare it to anybody who serves in the armed forces of a nation, where they also have those ranks, but again, it means very different things. So when I was accused by one UFO researcher that I exposed years ago of stealing valor, well, there's no valor to steal when you can't even compare someone who's in the U.S. military versus anybody who is in private security service. It's like apples and rocks. They have nothing to do with each other except maybe some of them are round-shaped. So it was a totally bogus attack, but I expect nothing less from that person. And we've been over that before. We can go over it again. I don't care. But frankly, I have more important things to do with my existence. Thank you. So getting back to the issue of Rich Dolan, I want to debate him as soon as the link is up for the show. I'm going to put it on social media. I'm going to put it on Twitter. I have clicked the button to follow him on Twitter now because I want to see what he does. I don't really follow him. And, you know, I've got plenty of other things to do, nothing personal. And what I will do is issue the challenge, and everyone will know that Rob McConnell, this is a key caveat here. It's not that I'm inviting Rich on my show and let's get into it. No, I'm inviting him on the show, and it's not on the X Zone Broadcast Network because it's not TV, it's radio. And Rob McConnell will be the neutral host. And I expect Rob, and I know he will, he'll hold me accountable for anything I can't explain or prove or justify. And he'll do the same for the other side. And that's the way it should be. And what will come out of this debate, if Mr. Dolan agrees, and I hope he does, because there's no valid excuse not to do this, is that he'll lay out his case, I'll lay out mine, And then the audience who will listen to this all around the world, including his tens of thousands of followers and my followers, whatever numbers those are, I don't care. Sorry, I don't keep track. Again, if 5 people follow me, fine. If 5 million, that's great too. But I don't pay attention to ratings. I don't pay attention to my popularity meter, because life is not a popularity contest. It's about finding the truth, in my opinion, trying to apply that truth, and then trying to, figure out as much as you can while you have life here on earth. Because once you're dead, who knows? All bets are off. We don't know. So I'm fascinated by everything I don't know, which is a lot. And I'm into a lot of different subjects. For me, Roswell was always a history project. Whatever happened is real history. It matters. Okay? Whether it's aliens or Swiss cheese, I don't care. What matters is we find the truth. And in the case of Roswell, I was there when a lot of this went down, and I worked with the top researchers, and it was only Friedman that we agreed to disagree, and Friedman didn't really attack my book. He knew better. Okay, fine. That's just history. So again, I'm challenging Rich Dolan to a debate. The UFO community wants this. The media wants it. Fans want it for various reasons. And I just hope that Rich Dolan doesn't pull a Mikey Horn and find some excuse not to debate. You must remember Mikey Horn said Billy Meyer asked the Pleiadians, and they said it was a bad idea if we debated. Well, okay. I admit I'm probably the only person that the Pleiadians are afraid of, it seems. I'm probably the only person that's had a debate canceled and a joint DVD project with Mikey Horn, because the Pleiadians told Billy Meyer to tell Mikey Horn not to do it. Well, I don't believe that's true for a moment, because, again, Mikey had a chance to come clean with Steve Cambion on his show. And he didn't. He literally made up a reason why we didn't debate, why he chickened out. And he chickened out. He ran. And it's all out there. You can go to Steve Cambion's YouTube channel. You can go to my website, kalkorff.com. I have put the links to all 3 episodes proving this. And you can see even Steve Cambion recorded a dedicated episode telling people the truth and proving that Mikey Horn was not telling the truth. And that's nothing new. Anybody who promotes the Meyer cult as being real isn't going to tell you the truth, folks. It's basic logic 101. Now back to Roswell. Look at Roswell. If it really happened, it's important to know that. In fact, as I wrote in my Roswell book, I can't think of anything more important that would impact the human race except for maybe the second coming of Christ. Okay? Aliens landing, crashing on July 4th weekend. Patriotic guys they are. And U.S. government takes them away, frames a hapless major, whatever excuse you want to say, the cosmic Watergate, whatever you want to call it. Again, it didn't happen, folks. It didn't happen the way these pro-Roswell types claim. And which crash site are you talking about? At one point, there was 5 of them when I wrote my book. I'm told today there's only 4 now. Gee, was one of them a hoax? Duh. Well, anyway, hopefully we'll get into it. Whatever evidence Rich Dolan thinks he has that apparently compels him to say what he does about Roswell, and his thousands of followers eat it up and buy his stuff, hopefully we're going to find out. I want to get into the who, what, where, why, when, and how. I will leave this segment in this show with one little tidbit here, and I was the first one to expose this. When I watched the Dolan video, the first few minutes of it, he talked about Loretta Proctor and her description of the Roswell material. Well, I got news for Rich Dolan. It was exposed in my book. Again, I was the first one to do this. And I had to check back with Bill Moore on this because I was shocked myself. Loretta Proctor didn't see anything. She made it clear in her early interviews, and Dolan or Randall wouldn't know this because they weren't there. Again, I'm one of the 4 original Roswell researchers. Been there, done that. She said she never saw anything, and she made it clear that they didn't want to go down to the Brazel ranch because tires were expensive back then, quote unquote. Okay, that's true. And they lived out in the boonies. It wasn't paved roads. It took a while to get there. Okay, so she never saw anything. But when her husband Floyd died, suddenly she tried to burn the metal, tried to break it, couldn't scratch it with a pocket knife or anything. She became a witness who was never a witness, but that's what she did. And you can't take that fact out of the universe, but you can ignore it and lie to people. And that's what Roswell researchers have done. They've repeated nonsense that's been made up by, in this case, some witnesses after their husband dies or something, just like Walter Haut did. He was dying. He wanted to leave his children money, something. So he starts saying, oh, I saw alien bodies. No, he didn't. But that didn't stop UFO researchers from running with that myth. And as has been proven throughout human history, if people don't speak up and defend the truth, lies and myths end up becoming the so-called truth that everybody grows up accustomed with and just accepts blindly. And that is dangerous. It can harm society. And if you deny too much of reality, you'll lose. You can't win that fight. So I hope Mr. Dolan will accept the debate. It's straight up, no games. And Rob will be the neutral moderator. I will issue this challenge after the link for the show is out there. Put it on social media, and we'll see what Mr. Dolan does. If he wants to debate, fine. If he doesn't, there's no excuse not to. And that's my honest opinion, and I think I can defend that because I'm laying it out all there. To use an analogy, I'm opening my kimono. All right, we'll talk next week, and hopefully I'll have an answer for you whether Dolan agrees to do this. Take care.